Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone. I guess I do this just often enough to be nervous. So let's all stand, turn our books to page 261, Wonderful Words of Life. Sing them over again to me, wonderful words of life. Let me more of their beauty see, wonderful words of life. Words of life and beauty, teach me faith and duty. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Christ the Blessed One gives to all wonderful words of life. Sinner, listen to the loving call, wonderful words of life. Also freely given, wooing us to heaven. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Sweetly echo the gospel call, wonderful words of life. Offer pardon and peace to all, wonderful words of life. Jesus, only Savior, sanctify forever. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. I'm going to ask Brother Gary to lead us in a word of prayer. As they play the music, why don't you shake hands with one another, fellowship a little bit, and we'll pick up after the first verse. Are you weary? Are you heavy laden? Tell it to Jesus. Tell it to Jesus. Are you grieving over joys departed? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus. Tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. Such a friend, our brother, tell it to Jesus alone. Do the tears flow down your cheeks unbidden? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. Have you sins that to men's eyes are hidden? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You know other, such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Do you fear the gathering clouds of sorrow. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. Are you anxious? What shall be tomorrow? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You know other, such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Are you troubled at the thought of dying? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. For Christ's coming, kingdoms are you signing. Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You know other, such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. You may be seated. Turn to page 544. Redeemed, how I love to proclaim it. A lot of times Rhonda's got to straighten me out. I'll pick the wrong redeemed or something. So that's what she did just before service there. So this is the right one, 544 in the book. Redeemed, how I love to proclaim it. Redeemed, how I love to proclaim it. Redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed through his infinite mercy. His child and forever I am. Redeemed, redeemed. Redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed. His child and forever I am. Redeemed and so happy in Jesus. No language by rapture can tell. I know that the light of his presence with me doth continually dwell. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed, his child and forever I am. I think of my blessed Redeemer. I think of him all the day long. I sing for I cannot be silent. His love is the theme of my song. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed, his child and forever I am. I know I shall see in his beauty the King in whose law I delight, who lovingly guardeth my footsteps and giveth me songs in the night. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed, his child and forever. This last song is page 547. I stand amazed in the presence. And you know, as we sing this song, it's truly amazing to be saved. It's truly amazing to truly know him. And when you sing this song, it's just, this is one I like a lot of songs, and this one here always meant a lot to me. I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus. So let's sing that, page 547. I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and wonder how he could love me, a sinner. my will but thine. He had no tears for his own grief, but sweat drops of blood for mine. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous. Here's verse 3. This verse 3 is the one that's really key. Pay attention to this verse 3, what he did for us. He took my sin and my sorrow. He made them his very own. He bore the burden to Calvary and suffered and died alone. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. When with the ransom in glory his face I at last shall see, 'twill be the joy through the ages to sing of his love for me. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me.
All right, I think we're good here. He has to drop their microphone at some point. I just forgot to put it back where it belongs. All right, let's have a word of prayer tonight. Thanks for being here. Father, I thank you tonight for the privilege again to be alive and for the safety that we had out on the roads today with all the snow that's piled up. And I just ask, God, that you will bless our time together. And I think of the youth group meeting tonight, and I think of Awana meeting in the back tonight. Lord, I just ask that you will just help the people that are working with the kids. Thank you for their ministry back there. As we take a few minutes here tonight to look at a certain subject, I just ask that you will help it to bring us closer to you tonight and to live better for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 21. Some of you probably have this verse memorized already. We're really going to focus in on one verse, Proverbs chapter 22. But we're going to start with a question, okay? And I want you to think about this question. The question is, what do people think of you? Have you ever considered that? What do people think of you? Say, I'm not sure I want to know. Sometimes I don't know if I want to know. But generally, what do people think of us? It's really kind of a trick question because we don't know. And maybe you realize this, that oftentimes we think of ourselves differently than other people think of us. And sometimes you almost wish that people would really be honest. You know, if you go to them and say, what do people think of me? You know, what is your opinion of me? And then you say, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what people think of us. And in some ways that's true because, you know, we can be so concerned about what people think of us that we don't do anything or we do the wrong things. But it really does matter because if you're a Christian, you represent God. You're an ambassador for God. And so because of that, it matters what people think of us. Our reputation matters a lot because as they look at us, they're thinking, what do they know about God? It's like if you go into a restaurant. Have you ever gone into a restaurant and or a store or something, and then you walk out and you said, I'm never going in there again because the way I was treated. A couple years ago maybe, my wife and I, we've been talking for a long time. We lived not far from South Bend, and there was how many of you have ever been to the Hacienda? Maybe I shouldn't say the name a lot, but I did. Okay, Hacienda. Hacienda is awesome. It's a Mexican restaurant, and unlimited chips and salsa. I mean, really, you can't go wrong, right? So you sit there, and we had this one we always went to, but we would drive by another one. They had 2 or 3 of them, and we would drive by this one. It was like an old house that it was fixed up into a restaurant. It was one of their restaurants, and we kept saying, one day we got to go in that one. You know, it was a little farther than the other one we usually went to. Not usually, we didn't go all the time, but when we did. And we said, one day we're going to go in that one, right? One, because it just looks so quaint, an old house fixed up, and so we were talking about it for years. Finally, one day we say, let's go to the hacienda. Let's go to that other one, okay? So we're all excited. We went in there, and it's really neat. You know, an old house fixed up, and we walked in there. And they brought us out, and they sat us like what used to be a porch, kind of the front porch, you know. And they sat out there, and I think they forgot about us. Have you ever been in a restaurant like that? And it's like, hello, I'm still planning to pay my bill. Don't forget about me. Right? And very rarely did the waitress even come out there. And we tried to be nice, you know, because of my sermon this morning, right? You got to be nice anyway. But, you know, we walked out of there saying, you know what, if we ever go back, we're not going to this one again. Because it's like they forgot about us, you know, the drinks, the Diet Coke got low, you know, and it's like, I don't want to go back there again. Why? Because of the way that the employees were treating the people, like they didn't care. Now, let's take that instance and put it into, you know, what people think about us and God. When people see us, we reflect God. And I wonder how many times people might come into church or might work with a Christian, and when they leave, they say, you know what? I'm really not all that interested in that God they have. Because they're just like us. They still gossip about people. They still complain about everything. You know, they're just like us. Sometimes we can be worse than these employees because we are supposed to be representing God. And we have a reputation, sometimes we can have a reputation where we're not representing him in the right way. So that's going to bring us to Proverbs chapter 22. Just one verse. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 1, it says this. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, loving favor rather than silver and gold. Now, if I offered you some money, if I say I have bags of silver and gold, if I have money, all you got to do is come up and get it. Most people would probably come up and get it, unless you thought I was fooling you, right? You want it, right? Because we're all interested in money, because money translates into paying of bills, you know, and it translates into food and translates into all this stuff. But when we think about having a good name or good reputation, it might not have the same pull to us. But what he says here is a good name, a good reputation, especially as an ambassador of God, is more important than mountains of silver and gold. A good name is something you should choose over riches and silver and gold. So obviously, you know, it says a good name. You say, I think we all understand this, right? It's not talking about the name that your parents gave you. Okay? It's talking about what people think about you, reputation. Names were so important in Bible times. In fact, I have some names here in the Bible that you recognize, right? I'm going to tell you why they were named this. You know Samuel. You've heard of Samuel, right? Samuel's mother, Hannah, wanted a child so bad. And she went and she prayed, and the priest says, You're drunk because your mouth is moving, but nothing's coming out. And she says, no, I just desire so much to have a child. And when she had a child, she named him Samuel, which means heard of God. When they would name people in Bible times, you know, we want a name that sounds good, you know, with our last name or whatever. They would say that this means something. I'm going to name my child heard of God because I prayed and God heard me. My favorite, Benjamin. Benjamin means son of the right hand. What a neat story. You know, Jacob had 12 sons, and his favorite wife, Rachel, didn't have any child till the last 2. And Joseph was born, and then Benjamin, and Benjamin was his favorite, and that's always the way it should be. Benjamin should always be the favorite, right? But when Rachel had Benjamin, she died in childbirth, and she named him Benoni, which means son of my sorrow. I want to get right. Son of my sorrow. And then she died, and then Jacob said, no, I'm not going to call him son of my sorrow. He's son of my favorite wife. And so he renamed him to Benjamin, meaning son of my right hand. These names, they really meant something there in the Bible. When Jacob's other wife, Leah, she had all these children. She named them things that meant something. Her first child was born, and she named him Reuben. You know what Reuben means? Reuben means see a son. In other words, she's saying, I got one. I got a son. I'm going to name him, see, a son. That's what Reuben meant. And then she had Simeon. Simeon means hearing. Because, and gives definitions for why she named all her sons all these things. And when she had Simeon, she said, God had heard that I was hated by her husband. And so he gave me another son. So she called his name Simeon, which means hearing. God has heard me. And then she had Levi. The name Levi means attached. Because when she had Levi, she said, now I've got 3 sons. Surely my husband will now be attached to me. And so she named her son Levi, or attached. And then she had Judah. The name Judah means celebrating. And then when she had Judah, she said, now I will praise the Lord. I'm going to celebrate. I got all these sons. Maybe my husband will love me now. All that kind of stuff, right? So they gave names that meant something. But we're going beyond just the name. Whatever that is the parent, whatever name your parents gave you, that's not the point here. The point here is a reputation. See, in the Bible time, their names were sometimes built, something about that child. It showed something about them. But even though we don't necessarily do it the same way anymore, we have a name. And that is what people think of us. When they think of you, do they think of someone who is honorable, someone who's trustworthy, someone who doesn't gossip, someone who's generous? That's our reputation. That's our name. And people, especially unbelievers, they think about our God like they think about us. It's interesting to do a little study on Indian names. American Indians gave some descriptive names. And they kind of got this idea of names a little bit better than we do. Because here pretty soon, maybe in a couple months, I'm going to talk about the names of God from the book that I wrote. And because names are just so interesting. God has names for reasons, right? But when we name our children, we just want to think of, hey, I like the sound of this name a lot of times. Well, the Indians, they would often name children because of something that they did or something, and sometimes they would even change the names through time as this person did something. Because when you'd say, as an Indian, you'd say your name, that's pretty much your reputation. It's kind of like we're saying your good name is rather be chosen in great riches. A few examples. You've heard of the Apache chief Geronimo. According to what I studied, before his name was Geronimo, his name was One Who Yawns. You can only picture this little papoose, the little baby, yawning all the time. So his parents call him One Who Yawns. And come on, Mom and Dad, kind of a different name. Okay, let's go with Geronimo. So it was picturesque of this child, right? There was another one, a Lakota chief, who was known for his height. And they called him Touch the Cloud. Touch the Cloud was his name because he was tall, right? So it would be descriptive of them. There was a Seneca chief who was known as Red Jacket because he fought with the British, and the British gave him a coat, a red coat. And so he's known as Red Jacket. And he also had another name. This was interesting. The other name, if I can say it right, was Sago Yiwatha, which means he keeps them awake, because he was an orator. And he must have been a good one. How many preachers have you known? We're going to name him He Keeps Me Awake. Or would you name him He Makes Me Sleep? But he was a good orator. He was a good speaker. And so they call him one who keeps people awake, right? A lady in 2010, a woman died. She was one of the few women to lead a major American Indian tribe of the Cherokees. And her name was Wilma Mankiller. Wilma Man, I don't know where she got the name. They say it was an honorary title, that was brought down. But man, guys, really. You meet a girl, right? Oh, what's your name? My name's Wilma Mankiller. You know that date I asked you on, we're just going to, we're not going to do that, right? I don't want to marry a woman named Mankiller. Okay? Aren't you glad that we don't get names like the Indians did? But we have a name, even if it's not John or Jim or Bill or whatever it is, we have a name as far as what people think of us when they look at us. They think something. And when they hear about us, they think something about us. Have you ever had someone in your life where anytime someone mentions their name, you almost feel like this dark cloud has come into the room? Because they're a pessimist and just a nasty person to be around. And then there's some people when their name is mentioned, you think, man, I just wish they were here right now because they lighten the room. See, this is a reputation. This is a name. And he says, if we can have a name like that, if we can have a reputation like that, that's so much better than having great riches. Our reputation should be worth so much more than all that. If people gave you a name based on your character, what do you think it would be? I mean, if you're really honest. If people came to you, now this is, if you worked at all with deaf people, you get a name, that we have what is called a sign name. And your sign name, if any of you hang around deaf people, you understand this concept? A sign name, if your name is Joe, there is not a sign name for Joe. You have your own sign name. My sign name came from the word computer. It was kind of changed because I was in computers at that time, right? And whatever it is, has something to do with you. When people see your name, they say, oh, there's something, it's connected with who you are somehow. Well, what if we all got names based on who we are? What would it be? Like the Indians. Oh, here comes Dark Cloud. Oh, there's a real invigorating, exciting person, right? I mean, what would it be? Oh, here comes cheater. Here comes liar. Here comes truth teller. I mean, what would it be if people named us based on who we were? But even if we don't have a name like that, people still think things of us. And as we are ambassadors of God, we should be considering, what do people think about me when they hear me? So let's look at our outline here. A good name is better than wealth. A good name is better than wealth. Now, if you could have a choice between great wealth or a good reputation, which would it be? Now, I've already given away the correct answer, so that's not fair, right? Now, I'll take the good reputation. But I mean, really, if we're really going to be truthful, you can have $1 million, or you can have a good reputation, but you can't have both. Which would it be? I don't know, can we raise it to 2 million? I mean, what would you say, right? But a good reputation is worth more than all the riches that you could possibly have. This is not always a hypothetical question either, because sometimes we have to ask ourselves, will I do the thing that benefits me, or will I do the thing that's right? Will I do the thing that benefits me, or will I do the thing that's right? Example. It's tax time, almost. I know April seems like forever off, but you're getting all the little things in the mail, how much you made and all that, and you sit down and do your taxes. And you think about the money that's come in this year. Do you ever kind of change it a little bit? I mean, you did a little business on the side, cash only, nobody has to know about that, right? Good name is rather be chosen in great riches. Lying on your tax forms is opposite of what we're talking about here. Maybe nobody will ever know, but God knows. What if somebody found out and now you have a bad reputation? How do you ever come back from that? And that's just one example. Sometimes we are faced with a thing. I have to make a decision. Will I do the thing that benefits me, or will I do the thing that's right? We should be known as a people who will always do the thing that is right, even if it doesn't necessarily benefit us. Oftentimes, maybe not often, but several times when I bought a car, you get the title, right? You get the title, and you're dealing with a person, you come to a price, right? And I distinctly remember, I think, once or at least maybe twice, the guy who I was buying the car from said, I'll just leave the sell amount blank, and you can put whatever you want in there. Now, you know why you do that, right? Because if I bought the car for $5,000, and I put $2,000 in there, I only pay taxes on $2,000 instead of $5,000. You see what I'm doing? And this happens all the time. No, I don't do that, okay? That's not what I'm doing. That's what he's offering. And I say, no, write that price in there. Because I'm not going to lie on this form. Well, let's just say you and the guy worked this out. I know we bought it for $5,000. Let's just write $2,000 in here. Well, we'll just have this little thing going. Nobody has to know. You know what that other guy knows about you now? You're a cheater. And you're supposed to be a Christian. And you're inviting me down to your church where cheaters go? You see how this works? A good name is better to be chosen than great riches. So we have to pay a little more. You want to do the thing that is right. Number one, because it's right. Number two, you're going to tarnish your reputation. And as you tarnish your reputation, you're tarnishing the reputation of God. And I think that's worth thinking about. A good name is better than wealth. How much money would it take to buy a good reputation? How much money would it take? If somebody has a bad image of you, how much money can you give them for them to have a good image of you? You see what I'm saying? Say, okay, I cheated you in this deal, okay? Say, how much money would make you think better of me? $1,000? $5,000? How much money can I give you for you to hold me in high esteem now? There is no money that can do that. A good name is something that cannot be bought. A good reputation is something that cannot be bought. It takes time. It takes effort. Boy, it can be destroyed so fast, too. But it takes a lot of time. And having a good reputation, a good name, doesn't come by telling people who you are. I put a verse on your outline there. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 6. Most men will proclaim each his own goodness, but who can find a faithful man? Some of you ladies said that at one time, right? Who can find a faithful man? This is generic, though, okay? Who can find a faithful person? Everyone will say that he's faithful. Everyone will say he's good, but who can find someone who is actually faithful? Many people, of course, will tell you how good they are, but to find one who actually lives what they say is a lot harder. I'm going to read you this quote from Socrates. It's attributed to Socrates anyway. He says this: regard your good name as the richest jewel you can possibly be possessed of, for credit is like fire. When once you have kindled it, you may easily preserve it, but if you once extinguish it, you will find it an arduous task to rekindle it again. The way to gain a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. I think that's pretty good. Let me read that last sentence again. The way to gain a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. In other words, what do you want people to think of you? Do you want people to think of you as a truth teller? Do you want people to think of you as someone who's faithful? Do you want people to think of you as someone who is always doing what's right? You know how to do that? You always tell the truth, you always be faithful, and you always do what's right. The image that we want people to have of us, we get that by being that way. It seems too simple. Like where's the deep theological thing in that? It's just a simple fact, but we miss it a lot. We want everyone to think well of us, but we don't live worthy of being thought well of. A good reputation, a good name is better to be chosen than all the riches and everything that we could possibly have. But we always need to remember that our reputation, our name, is equal to our witness. You know those neighbors you got, the people you work with, if they hear bad language coming from you, and they see how you are cheating, and they hear the fighting going on in your family, think they're going to be interested when you invite them to church? Probably not. When I was before I was married, my sister and I, we were living in this apartment together just up from the school where we were just finishing going to. So we were sharing this apartment, and right next door, it was a house that was split into an apartment, and the next house was a family that lived in the church. Let me try that again. A family that went to the church that we went to. And every Saturday morning, I'm in early 20s, I want to sleep in a little bit, and they were screaming at each other and fighting. And I knew that they went to the church, and they would scream, and they would holler, and the whole neighborhood could hear. Now, if I wasn't a Christian, and they came to my house one day and said, hey, Why don't you come down and visit the church with us? You know what I'm going to say? You know what? If going to that church makes me like you, I want nothing to do with it. What do our neighbors think of us? And see, they could not come to me and give me any amount of money to fix what I thought about them. It would only make it worse. The only way they could fix what I thought about them is to hear them get up on Saturday morning and speak to each other in love. And when they had a disagreement, to take care of it like mature people do. But they ruined that. What do our neighbors think of us? What do the people we work with think of us? A good reputation is necessary to be a good witness. You know, we think sometimes a witnessing is just maybe going and talking to people about God, and that is the greatest part of it. But if we talk to people about God and they know that we live like an unbeliever, you just destroyed everything you said. Why do they want to hear it? I talked this morning, remember, about going to the restaurant and treating the waitress who messed up her order, treating her like dirt, or him. And then you leave the tip with a track. You know, you treat your waitress like dirt. Don't leave anything with our church name on it. You know what I mean? Because you're just destroying anything. They're going to look at it and say, oh, East Lake Baptist Church, those people that go to that church act like this, I want nothing to do with it. And those Christians come in and act like this, I want nothing to do with their God. You can't have a witness when you have a bad reputation. They don't want to hear anything of what you've got to say. Because if Christians act like that, well, I'm better than they are. You know, non-Christians often have a higher standard for us than we do. Well, we understand we're all, you know, imperfect people. And the only thing that really sets us apart is that we've been saved, right? Have faith in Jesus and everything. We understand each other. You know, there's going to be sin and we can forgive. But unbelievers look at us saying, hey, Christians are supposed to act different than that. We need to really be on our best behavior, especially around unbelievers, because it's so quick to destroy that reputation. And what they think about God comes from what they think about us. And if God can't change us to be different than them, why would they want to jump into Christianity? Because it obviously doesn't change people. Now you just got to get them to go to church on Sunday, right? What do they want with that? But if they can see a difference in us, and they can see in us that we are the truth tellers, and that we are doing the things that are right, now they say, these people got something that I might want. We can't buy a good reputation. We represent Jesus Christ to the world, and the question is, how are we doing? You know, companies will spend millions of dollars in advertising merely to get you to think a certain thing about their brand. Last week was the Super Bowl. I don't remember how many millions of dollars it is for a 30-second commercial in the Super Bowl. Well, why pay? I mean, do people go out and buy enough pizzas to cover that? Maybe they do. I don't know. But what they're trying to do with the commercials is they're trying to make you think something about their product, to feel a certain way about their product. So next time you get hungry, you got to have their brand of pizza. That would probably just be Cece's, right? I'm just kidding it. Or their brand of soft drink or whatever it happens to be. They want you to feel a certain way. They'll spend millions of dollars because they want brand reputation. They want you to equate, if I drink their drink and I eat their food and I buy their perfume, then I will live a lavish life. Now, they don't tell you that, but the people they show are living the lavish life. And they're all getting along, and they're all... I love the fast food commercials. The fast food commercials, they're all sitting around a table. Everybody's smiling at each other. And the one behind the counter has got a big smile and all this, and the pretty music's playing. But then you go to a real fast food restaurant. Not always the same, right? You open up your burger there and it's slid all over the place and there's ketchup on it. You get the idea? They're painting a picture. If you come and eat here, your life will be glorious. And psychologically, it does something to us, and we buy into this brand recognition. We buy into this, I'll feel good if I go. We don't think this, but it's subliminal, okay? That's what they're trying to teach us. That's what they're trying to tell us. Remember the old cigarette ads? I guess they can't do them on TV anymore, right? And the alcohol ads, commercials. Remember the old Marlboro Man? I don't know, maybe they're still in magazines or whatever. You know, what do they show? You smoke our brand of cigarettes, you're going to be a hunk. You're going to be tanned, 5 o'clock shadow all the time, riding a horse. You're going to be it. You're going to be in shape. How do people get that? Just from watching it on TV or seeing it in the magazine or whatever. And they don't show you someone skinny who's shaking and just can't wait to get another cigarette. They don't show you all that stuff. So you go down there and think, if I do that, I will look like that. No, you won't. And then the alcohol commercials. They do the same stuff with that they did with the cigarette ones, right? Everybody's good looking. You know, everybody who drinks beer or whatever is good looking, according to the commercials. They're young, they're good looking, but they're leaving an important part out. They're leaving out the people dying of cirrhosis of the liver. They're leaving out someone getting in their car and driving drunk and killing a family innocently driving down the road. They're leaving all that stuff out. They're leaving out people destroying their health with it. They don't want to show you all that. They want to show all the young, beautiful people having a good old time. And they don't even show you the hangover the next morning. Right? They're trying to give us an idea about what they have. It's so important how people feel because they want to sell their stuff. Now let's take that idea and bring it over into who we are. We're not trying to sell anything, but we're trying to represent God to people. And if we come out and we live like the unbelievers, why do they want what we have? I had a call this week. I forgot about it because I try to tune these things out from a vacuum sales thing. You know, they want to come to the house and give me the thing. I've been through that before, and the answer is no. I gotta be careful what I say. You know, some people, I could not make a living in sales. I couldn't, but some people do. But a salesman comes to my house, and they tell you how bad your housekeeper you are, right? Because I was going to find some dirt. And I had a vacuum cleaner salesman come one time. Couldn't wait for him to get out of the house. Told us how bad we were. Can't believe that we wouldn't buy his vacuum cleaner, and that we're so bad parents because, you know, we're not keeping our house clean like he thinks we should because we didn't buy his little brand of vacuum cleaner. You know what I think about that brand of vacuum cleaner? I'm not interested in it because of that guy. He drove me crazy. Now, you give me a free one, maybe I'll keep it. Probably a good vacuum cleaner. But if I ever buy one, I'm not buying it from you because you wouldn't leave my house. You get the idea here? Sometimes we can take the holy name of God and we can take all these things He's given us and we can turn people off on it just by the way that we act. Shame on us because we're not upholding that reputation. We're not upholding how people think about God. They're watching us. They want to know, does this make a difference or not? All right, let's keep going. Let's see where we're at. A good name is hard to build. Have you figured that one out yet? A good name is hard to build. It takes time. It takes consistency. Doing things right, one after another. It's hard to build a good reputation. It's hard to build a good name because it requires faithfulness. And folks, faithfulness isn't easy. Faithfulness is faithfulness. It means always doing the right thing. I think I've used this illustration before. You go out to your car. Every morning you go out to your car and you start it up and you drive to work. Every morning it works. One morning, the coldest morning of the year, you go out there and it doesn't start. What do you say? This piece of junk. This thing never works. I got to get rid of it. All year it's been perfect. It's done so well. But one time you get out and you're kicking. No, I mean, you're trying to be a good, witness to the neighbors, so you're nice about it. Go in the garage, close the door, and then kick the car, right? But the idea is, the one time, all of a sudden, this is a piece of garbage, and I just want to get rid of this car. One time it failed you. And that's the same way it is for us as people. People can watch us being faithful and doing the things that are right one time, and it's gone. Boy, we've got to be on our toes, don't we? One time, and that's what people will remember. I remember the time that you did whatever this thing. You know how you get a good reputation? You get it by integrity. You know what integrity is? You know the word integration? We use the term in computers, integrated software. It all works together, right? You have Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint. It all can work together, supposedly. It is Microsoft. But it's supposed to all work together, right? Integrity means all the parts of our life are integrated together. It means I don't have church life where I'm good and then work life where I'm not good. It means the same person I try to look like on Sunday morning is the same person I am on Tuesday afternoon. If I won't cuss in church, I won't cuss at work. If I'll be nice to my wife when I'm in church, when the Christians are looking, then I'm going to be nice to my wife on Friday nights when the neighbors are looking or when nobody's looking. You get the idea? All the parts of our life are integrated. We're going to be right all the time. If we live like that, then we build a good reputation and people think good things about God as they look at us. A good name is hard to build, and a good name is even harder to rebuild. Hard enough to get it the first time, but when you lose it, how hard is it to get it back? I'm going to read a few names, and you just think about what you think of when you hear these names. Richard Nixon, President of the United States. Is that what you think of? Think of Watergate. What would he have to do to overcome Watergate? I don't think he could have done anything to overcome that. Bill Clinton, same type of idea. Jimmy Swaggart. Harvey Weinstein. Matt Lauer. And the list could go on. Every time you hear one of these names, it's a name that you know, probably. And what do you think of? A scandal. Some of these people did a lot of great things. Well, that might depend on your opinion on a lot of it. But not everything in their life was what we know them for. One thing. How do you overcome that? It's extremely difficult, almost impossible to come back from a destroyed reputation. It can be possible, but it takes a lot longer the second time than it took the first time. We need to be so careful about it. These men that I read their names, they got to great positions, but one thing, maybe a few things, but one major thing tarnished them. You can live so well, you can be so faithful, and blow it one time, and that's the end. I remember a time when I was in college, and a Christian college, and I was helping with a play. They were putting on a big play. And I was helping with lighting and things like that, and they were late, some nights, and it was being directed by one of the Bible professors. And we were there, it was late, and just late, was tired, and something didn't go right, and he let out a cuss word. I'm a college kid. My Bible professor swore. And I left there, and I was devastated. This day, you know when I think of him? I think of that. It was almost kind of comical because after that I went out, I was sitting on a bench on campus, and he came walking by. I think he saw me there, but he didn't stop. He came walking by, and he was mumbling to himself, just like this. He's saying, "Oh, and I said a bad word." He was just like that. So I think he felt bad, but he never came and apologized or anything. But even to this day, I know anybody, something could slip. You hear other people, and maybe it's the first time, I don't know. But why is that the thing that I remember? Why we need to be so careful. It takes one time, and you've destroyed it so hard to build it back. You can come and ask for forgiveness. People can forgive. But to get that trust back, so difficult. So we don't want to lose it first time. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 1. This is such a cool verse. I put it on your outline. Dead flies putrefy the perfumer's ointment and cause it to give off a foul odor. So it is a little folly to one respected for wisdom and honor. You're a respected person. You have wisdom. You have honor. One thing wrong is like putting a stench in your perfume. Boy, something's wrong with this stuff. One thing. You say, but the rest of my life is great. I'd like to use this illustration using a little different context, but you think, here's a wedding, and here comes the bride. She's walking down the aisle. She's wearing a beautiful white gown. The maid of honor is, fixing it and everything. Beautiful white, one ketchup stain. She was eating fries in the back. You know what everyone's going to see? They're going to see the ketchup stain. But the rest of the dress is perfect. But they're going to remember that. That's all they will remember for decades. I remember at your wedding, you had a dirty dress on. It was one spot. That's the way people see us. Oh, everything is so wonderful in our life. We're great Christians. But there's one thing that I know you're not right, and that's what people will get. That's why we need to try to root that stuff out of our lives, because it will destroy our reputation. You ever been ironing clothes, and you get right to the end of ironing it, and you find a spot? Man, I hate that. Happens all the time. It's like the curse of white shirts. You know what I mean? Perfect. And then there's one. How disheartening. How disheartening is it for people to meet us as a Christian? Say, wow, great person. Oh, but there's a spot. All of a sudden, they don't think so highly of us anymore. And when they don't think so highly of us, they don't think so highly of God. The name is better be chosen than great riches. We're going to finish this up here quick. A good name can outlive you. This is the good thing. If we can just get a good reputation, it can outlive us. Look at this verse, Hebrews 11:4. I gave it to you on your outline. By faith, Abel, we all know of Abel, right? By faith, Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and through it, he, being dead, still speaks. We learn a lesson from Abel thousands and thousands of years after he died. He's still preaching to us. Why? Because he did the thing that was right. Brother killed him for it. But he did what was right. And even being dead, he still speaks to us. I'm going to read a few more names. What do you think of when I read these names? George Washington. Think of the first president of our country. You think of the leader of the Constitutional Convention. You think of fighting to make America free. Here's a man that has a good reputation. Abraham Lincoln, same type of a thing. Helped eventually to keep our union together. George Mueller, one of my favorite characters in history, had nothing. But he started orphanages by faith. If you never read about George Mueller, you got to read about George Mueller. The guy was crazy with his faith, but he was faithful, and he constantly just was faithful in doing what he believed that God wanted him to do. Those names could go on and on. People that were faithful, and they did what was right. They did what was right. 2 times a year in our church, in Southern Baptist churches, we take up major offerings for missions. Lottie Moon and Annie Armstrong. Where did those names come from? They were 2 missionary ladies that were faithful. And being dead, they still speak. Lottie Moon died in 1912. Annie Armstrong died in 1938. Their reputation has outlived them. George Washington's reputation has outlived him. Abraham Lincoln, all these people, they did what was right. And I'm sure if you know them, there were probably some things maybe that weren't quite right, but they were, by and large, so faithful. We can just be faithful. If we can constantly do the thing we're supposed to do, that reputation can outlive us. And after we're gone, it still will be carried on. You ever sit around and talk to the kids? Your grandpa, such a faithful guy. Or whoever, someone in your family. Man, if we could just be like this ancestor of ours, because they were faithful and their reputation has outlived them. So we bring it back to our question. What kind of a name do we have? What do people think about us? What reputation do we have? What do I do now? 3 things real quick. What do I do now? Number 1, determine to do right from this point forward. You say, but I've already messed it up. Okay, you messed it up. It's going to be harder to build it. But you know what? You got to get started right now. I will do what is right from this point on. I'm going to start rebuilding that name so when people see me, they see a good representative of God. Number 2, ask forgiveness if necessary. You messed something up, you destroyed trust. Might be someone you need to go to and say, I understand I messed up. By the way, going to someone and asking forgiveness for something like that gives you a running start on rebuilding it. Someone comes to you and they humble themselves, they say, I messed up and I know it. Man, that'll give you leaps and bounds. Head start on rebuilding a reputation. It won't be easy, It's going to take a lot of faithfulness. I'd give you a good start. Might be somebody to ask forgiveness. I messed up, but I'm going to do better. Number 3, just begin to develop your good name. Do what you got to do. Be faithful from this point on. It'll take a long time. A long time to build a good reputation. It takes even longer to rebuild it. But the point that we need to think about is, what do people think about God when they look at me? They see my life. What do they think about my God? Would they think that my God is a cheater, is a liar, is a gossiper? Or do they think about my God as someone who is loving and who does what was right? What do they think? Bow our heads and close our eyes tonight, just for a minute here. I'd like you just to ask yourself that question. What do people think about me? My God. What kind of a reputation do I have? We can't answer that question by saying, I believe that people that I would have a good reputation. If we can't say that, there's something that we need to fix tonight. And I would encourage you to do that. Put your finger on, what is it? If people knew this about you, it would destroy their reputation, destroy what they think of God. Put your finger on that tonight. And as we sing here just a minute, just tell God. If you want to come up here and pray, you do that. You just tell God, I'm going to fix this starting right now. I'm going to try to develop a good reputation for yours. Father, tonight we ask that if someone here needed to hear this and someone needs to develop a good name, then that they would do that tonight and start this journey right now. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's stand together. We'll sing. How exciting. Get an adopted granddaughter. Man, that's awesome. If you haven't been following their story, you gotta check up on that. That's pretty cool. Wednesday night, it's supposed to get hot this week. What, in the 30s or something I heard? That's going to be nice. Wednesday night, prayer time and Bible study. We're finishing up our study on what is the Bible and how to study it. We're talking about that now, and I'm having a lot of fun, okay? So I'll be back in there this Wednesday night. So hope you can come on out. That's 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. Let's pray and we'll be dismissed. Father, thank you for the folks who come out tonight. I pray for safety as they head back home, and for Awana and youth as they finish up in the back. I just ask, God, that you would speak to hearts of the kids that are in this building tonight and let us be a witness to them. In Jesus' name, amen.